Hello, boys and girls. Mr. Moby John. We're going to end our spring tour of identification of flowers and flowering plants because we're in late spring now. It's June 5th, and we have just about half a dozen plants to identify. As you know, plants don't flower all at the same time. They flower from early spring to summer. So, we've got a whole bunch of plants to identify. We're going to begin with this plant, which has got pretty white flowers, and here's a sample of it. Pretty white flowers. It almost looks like Queen Anne's lace. Okay? So it is a plant that is fairly well established in the Northeast. And this is called, you look at the leaves and you want to identify the leaf. How would you identify this type of leaf? If you said the compound leaf, you are correct. This is the compound leaf because it's broken down into leaflets. So the plant has compound leaves. It's got a white panicle of flowers. I'm going to hold it this way. As you can see, an umbrella arrangement of flowers. That's what you call it, umbrella. And the leaves are compound, and the stems are all green and fleshy. Green and fleshy, that is called the herbaceous stem. So they have herbaceous stems. The leaves come right from the ground. They are compound. What kind of plant is it? This is called scientifically Agiopodium. Commonly known by many names. One is called bishop's weed. Second name is snow on the mountain. And then Agiopodium. So, snow on the mountain, bishop's weed, and Agiopodium. This came from Europe. It seldom seeds. It grows vegetatively by many, many rhizomes. Those are root-like structures. I'll be able to show you a rhizome. This is the bishop's weed, and it's got this long rhizome. Now, about this plant, they use the term weed because that's precisely what it is. It is an invasive weed, one of the most invasive weeds in the Northeast. It grows and it is able to outcompete many native plants in wet areas, and becomes one huge monoculture. It is fairly easy to pull out, but you have to get all the rhizomes, because if you leave a piece of a rhizome, the whole plant will start to grow again. As I said, it is invasive. It's an invasive. They still sell them as low maintenance garden plants, but I don't advise you planting this because it grows all over the place and it outcompetes many native species of plants. So, if you have this in your garden, if you accidentally brought it with a couple of other plants, make sure you don't let it establish in your garden. Wrong thing to do, because as you can see over here, we have a whole bunch of bishop's weed growing. Whole bunch of bishop's weed growing here. Okay? Now we're going to look at our next plant. Our next plant is a very beautiful plant. It's got orange flowers, very fluorescent orange flowers, sort of like bright orange. This is called the Oriental Poppy. It is related to the same type of poppy that is used in the narcotic industry, the opium poppy, except this does not produce opium. But this is a very hardy poppy. It has the same type of capsule as the opium poppy, but that milky sap does not come out of it. So I could show you the Oriental Poppy. Very nice. If you look at the flower head, very pretty flower head. And there's that big capsule where if it was an opium poppy, you would cut through it, and that white milky sap would come out, and that would be the opium. So again, from Asia, you'll notice that many plants that that are growing in the Northeast that have naturalized come from Asia. So it seems like Asia is one of the main countries that has many beautiful plants, and that's why they've been brought over. We do have many plants from Europe too. Okay, so we'll go on to our third plant. Our third plant is, I have to go in there. Let me go retrieve the flower. And the leaf. This is an herbaceous plant. It's a compound leaf. It's got 3 leaflets. If you look at the flower, it's purple and it's got these strange wings to it. I'll pick another flower. Is that the petals are falling off? That is the Columbine. So you've heard of Columbine before. It was in the news about 2 decades ago. This is the plant called the Columbine. It is a perennial. It does come back every year, usually lasting 2 or 3 years. So again, this is the Columbine. About the Oriental Poppy, that is a perennial, and it's got herbaceous stems. The Columbine also has an herbaceous stem. So it's entirely herbaceous, an herbaceous perennial. The next type of plant is the Wigelia. This one has red flowers. They do come in usually maroon and red. It's got a long, narrow tube as a petal. It seems to be one petal that's connected all across. There you could see the pistil and the anthers. That white ball is that pistil, and the anthers are surrounding it. So, if we look at the leaf arrangement, is it alternate or opposite? If you said opposite, you are absolutely right. It's got opposite leaves. It has simple leaves. It's got also simple leaves, and it's woody. It has woody stems. It is a bush, and again, it is a Wigelia. And again, it is also not native to the United States. Our next plant is a member of the rose family. It's got thorns on it, just like roses, and we can see the thorns if we get up close. They are fairly prominent, about 1/4 inch long, and they are covered with white blossoms. Very beautiful field of these plants, which are perennials. They do have semi-woody stems, and they do have a compound leaf. So here you see a compound leaf, not a simple. And each flower has how many petals? 5 petals. And there you see the pistils and the anthers. This is called the blackberry. And these are wild blackberries. We have a whole field of wild blackberries, and they're all blossoming. They're quite a beautiful sight in late spring. Again, blackberries. We're going to see these blackberries. These flowers will shed, and the berries will start growing, and now they will turn a black color. And it's very good. I've tried the berries, and they are delicious. Our next plant is a vine, and as you can see, it is growing on this antique piece of machinery. It has got what kind of leaf? Well, it seems like the leaf is broken down into 3 leaflets, and you would say it is the compound leaf. So this is a vine with compound leaves, and if we look at the flower, very beautiful flower. This one's dark purple. This is called the clematis vine, and it is a perennial, and it is a vine. It wraps around other things and other plants, and has woody stems. Our next plant is herbaceous, and it has got, again, what kind of leaf? The compound leaf. So here we have a plant with compound leaves, and they've got herbaceous stems. This one has white flowers. I'll hold the flower up to you. And this is called the peony. 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 This is from Asia, and again, it's a very beautiful specimen, and it gives off a very perfumey smell, the peony. This plant is all familiar. You'll be familiar with the name. This is called a marigold. The marigold is an annual. That means you have to start the seeds every year, all over again, because the whole plant dies after the first frost. As you can see, this is a French hybrid marigold, and it's got these ruffled flowers. And marigolds give off quite a distinctive odor. They are sort of like a bug repellent because of the odor that they give off. So again, we have our marigold, an annual plant with compound leaves. Our next plant is actually a tree, one of the largest deciduous trees in the United States. So this tree is native to the United States, and it gets quite large. This one is a small tree, but it will, in another 50 or 100 years, be quite large. This, if you look at the leaves, they are very distinctive. They've got these lime-colored leaves, and they have a silhouette of a certain flower. So if you look at the silhouette of the leaf, it has the shape of a tulip. And because of that, it has a fairly distinguishing name. But let's look at the stems of it. You look at the stems, the leaves are simple, yet they are alternate. And they've got these little wings that cover each leaf. And now we're going to look at the flowers. Here is the bud of one flower. It almost looks like a fruit. When it opens up, you get this flower, which is quite distinctive. It's got an orange, the petals are green, but they're splashed with an orange color. Very unique tree. And look at the inside of it. You could see the pistil and the anthers that surround the pistil. So, what tree is this called? This is the tulip tree. The tulip tree. Also called scientifically by the name Liriodendron tulipera. Tulipera obviously is named the tulip tree. That common name comes from the scientific name. So it is a very beautiful tree in late spring. Very beautiful. It's covered with these blossoms. Many blossoms on this tulip tree. I planted this tulip tree in my 20s, early 20s. And now it's of size now, and it's bearing flowers, which will become fruit, which will become seeds. Again, here we have that big bulbous flower head. So if you see that around late spring, you'll notice it's a tulip tree. Liriodendron tulipera. Quite a massive tree when in the deep forest. Straight trunked, quite massive. One of the largest trees in the Northeast. Largest deciduous tree. What do we mean by deciduous? A tree that sheds its leaves in the autumn is called a deciduous tree. in contrast to an evergreen. Okay, boys and girls, in a meadow, which is what this is, a meadow is a field that gets mowed down at least once a year. Okay, so we get only annuals growing, annuals and some perennials. But we're going to look at this purple annual or perennial. I believe it's a perennial. And look at the leaf. It's got what kind of leaf? Compound leaf. And it's hard to tell if it's alternate or opposite. We're going to take another, pull out another cutting. It looks like it's alternate. And it's got 3 leaves. If you said the clover, you're right. This is a purple clover. They also come in white. It's got the compound leaf with 3 leaflets. Cows munch on this a lot. They like this. It's very good for them, for their nutrition. So if you see a field of purple flowers, and if you look at the petals, there are about a whole bunch of flowers surrounding the flower head. Again, this is the clover. A very familiar flower in our meadow. So let's look at this one. Yellow, surrounded by white petals. And you know, some people pick the petals and they say this, they make this saying, she loves me not, as they pick a petal. This is the daisy, perennial daisy. It is an oxbow daisy. So it grows in our meadow, and it is a herbaceous plant with alternate compound leaves and the oxbow daisy. Our last plant for our late spring excursion is this plant, which has a compound leaf, if you look closely, and the leaves seem to be alternate. Okay, I have 2 specimens of this. Okay, and it's got purple flowers. This is called the wild geranium. So we do have geraniums that grow in the wild that are native to the Catskills, and this is I believe it might be a perennial. It's called a wild geranium. And that ends our late spring tour of flowers in the Northeast, specifically the Catskill Mountains of New York. It was nice having you guys as a part of my virtual field trip, and I hope everybody's social distancing and wearing their masks. Until then, so long, boys and girls.